Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to another edition of Hip Politics News Live. It's your host and your boy, Mr. Cameron Calvin. These Trump tariffs have got everybody in a frenzy. So we had to let some of this stuff play out, and I know you probably have seen a lot in the news recently about this. So I know you come here for trusted information, straight to the point. How does this affect me? How does it affect the culture? So with that, I wanted to make sure we were able to. I like using that little effect. All right, so let's jump right into this. Um, Supreme Court rules most of Trump's tariffs are illegal and a major setback for his economic agenda. This has been all the news, all the rage these last few years. It starts by the Supreme Court dealt a massive legal blow to the administration. The Supreme Court officially just struck down Trump's global tariff plan. You know, that's something he's been running on, something he's been saying that the world is ripping us off, and so he instituted almost unilateral tariffs or these high level tariffs on countries that are both either our allies or maybe not even as effective. But to that point, um, it's been like a tent pole, a major leg that he's been standing on, and he's been saying that it's helping for the good of the country, even though inflation is up, prices are high. And I would dare to say not many people who understand or know about tariffs think that this is a good thing. But this was an attempt. His global tariff plan was an attempt to bypass Congress and unilaterally tax every single thing coming into the country. And the court said, hold up. Wait a minute. It was a 6-3 vote with Chief Justice John Roberts, who is definitely a Republican, delivered the opinion for the court. The ones who dissented are considered some of the more extremely, I don't even like to say conservative, but definitely some of the more conservative ones, including one that was appointed by Trump, Justice Brett Kavanaugh, Clarence Thomas, and Samuel Alito. Those are the ones who voted against this ruling. Um, and we're going to get into a little bit, stay, because we're going to peek into Trump's press conference where he called these fools out, said their family should be embarrassed. But we'll get to that in just a minute. But this is, like I said, the court said this kind of power belongs to the people's representatives, which is Congress. It's supposed to be a check and balance here, and not just the Oval Office. Trump has been arguing that this has been a I think one of the things an interesting article that came out was this same rejection for Trump was the same reason why when President Biden tried to get universal student loan forgiveness, that it was wiped out. And like in 2023, right, like almost in his second to last year in office, Biden tried to do this. They said these sweeping tariffs were beyond the scope of the law. Even one of his appointees, Justice Neil Gorsuch, again, Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote in a concurring opinion on Friday that the court requires clear congressional authorization to carry out broad economic policies like student loan forgiveness or tariffs. Um, and they echoed this tariff opinion, writing that in Biden versus Nebraska, the student debt ruling. So they actually cited the Biden ruling by the Supreme Court in the justification against going against Trump, that the court declined to read authorization to waive or modify statutory or regulatory provisions applicable to financial assistance programs, delegation of power. Anyways, so what did that look like? I wanted to first. So you heard like Trump has already collected over $150 billion in tariffs. And the thing people need to understand about tariffs, they aren't paid by other countries. They're paid by the companies bringing in goods to the U.S. So when those companies pay more, they raise the prices on you. Because Trump said now, he came back out and said there is now, I'm going to do a 15% baseline tariff on all imports. So if that does go through, that means that that cost is going to be passed on to us as consumers, or American people as consumers, because those companies that are bringing that in have to now pay 15% more, and they're not willing to make 15% less money. So that means they're going to raise those prices. A 15% tariff is essentially a 15% tax hike on everything from sneakers to text to cars, even the food on your table. Um, and then this isn't just happening in a vacuum. Other countries like China and the European Union are already preparing retaliatory tariffs. That means American made goods, things we export, things that small businesses, whether you're a small business, an individual small business, or a large business here in America, you're going to have to pay tariffs, and those things will get more expensive, potentially hurting jobs here at home. So I just wanted to make sure that we were clear about what this actually meant. And with that same, like I said, with that same theme here, somebody that we all, I'd say, a lot of people are familiar with, Kevin O'Leary, famed businessman from Shark Tank. I wanted to hear a little bit of what he had to say, and where does all that $150 billion go now? Let's talk to him. He always does this. He posts videos of him on CNN, CNBC, Fox, wherever he's on, and then he shows it a split screen where he's usually wearing pajamas or shorts or something like that, flip flops, and just has a suit up front. I promise I got a suit on today. But let's hear what he had to say. So with that, also let's see how people have been reacting to this. I want to bring this up. So Congressman Greg Meeks, he's the ranking member on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. He issued a statement on the Supreme Court ruling, and I'm going to read it here. Again, Greg Meeks, black member out of New York, one of the senior members of the Congressional Black Caucus, and like I said, one of the more tenured members on foreign affairs. So he's really tuned into the tariffs. The Supreme Court's decision confirms that what we argued in the bipartisan amicus brief I co-led on behalf of members of Congress. IEEPA was never meant to be used to impose tariffs. That's the law. The court has now made clear that Trump's actions exceeded the law. While I'm glad that SCOTUS has struck down Trump's harmful tariff regime, it should not have taken a Supreme Court ruling to stop it. For more than a year, Republicans repeatedly blocked Democrats' efforts to overturn those clearly illegal taxes that have burdened all Americans' families. He said, I'll continue to review the SCOTUS, or Supreme Court of the United States, ruling to assess future legislative steps. So those are people who are, like I said, and there's a lot of folks out here now positioning around this, and this tariffs have been extremely unpopular. I know President Trump sold this during his election as like something good for all Americans, and I think, quite frankly, a lot of folks just didn't understand the impact or how the tariffs would work. I mean, there was a lot of information out there saying this would not go the way he thought it would, but I mean, dude, I don't know, everybody's not tuned in as much on this. So let's see what one of his most staunch reporters in the staunch supporters, I'm sorry, in the U.S. Senate, Senator Bernie Moreno, said. So he recently posted on X. SCOTUS's outrageous ruling handcuffs our fight against unfair trade that has devastated American workers for decades. These tariffs protected jobs, revived manufacturing, and forced cheaters like China to pay up. Now globalists win. Factory investments may reverse and American workers lose again. This betrayal must be reversed, and Republicans must go to work immediately on a reconciliation bill to codify the tariffs that have made our country the hottest country on earth. I don't know what world he's living in, but prices are up, milk is up, eggs are up, uh, technology is up, TV prices are up. Like we've seen by any measure, people both the data is showing this and how people feel. People feel like money is not going as far as it needs to, and as needs to, and it is. I would say it's been a challenge to it's been a challenge more than most folks like. But let's see what the president had to say. He came out and had a press conference, and boy, when I say this is Petty McMetty, uh, he kind of went in. So let's listen in what President Trump had to say. Let me put a pause in there. That was important. The context here is a couple two things. One, two of the three people that Trump appointed in his last term, uh, Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch, who was nominated a little bit after Trump got in January 2017 and was appointed and sat in April 2017, as well as Amy Coney Barrett. That was his last one when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. She was nominated and confirmed quickly in September 20 in I'm sorry, in October of 2023 at the end of 20 I'm sorry, at the end of 2020. She was confirmed uh, even after Trump had understood he was losing the election. They rushed that through, but both Neil Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett actually went against Trump on this ruling, and boy, does he get mad about this. Uh, I need people to understand how unprecedented this is. Unprecedented this is. We have three branches of government. Sorry, three branches of government. The executive branch, that's the president and all of his departments, Veterans Affairs and uh, I'm sorry, blah, 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 EPA, Department of Education, Department of Health and Human Services, things that are under executive branches, people who are on his cabinet that he appoints. But we have three branches, so they have checks and balances. We have Congress, the legislative branch, that is the House of Representatives, as well as the United States Senate. 50 senators, 535 members of Congress, voting members of Congress who have the power of the purse. They're the ones who actually distribute money and understand where all the money goes and are also able to impeach the president. And then you have the Supreme Court, the judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court, who upholds the laws on the books and upholds the Constitution, supposedly. They're supposed to be separate. So one cannot tell the other what to do. They all can act independently, even though, especially the Supreme Court. So for a sitting president to publicly admonish in this way, Supreme Court, two of which the people he's talking about are people he put there. The people he put there. So Uh, and this is all going to be weird because in a couple days he's giving the State of the Union, and right at the front, right sitting up front is usually the Supreme Court, members of the Supreme Court. How much you want to bet that Trump is going to say something and look them in their eye and call them out of their names? Listen a little longer. So he said Democrats are being loyal, but he can't knock loyalty of others. I didn't know this was the like aiding and ceding to King Trump, like where he's showing. I mean, he's been showing this, but this is just another case where he said, "You need to be loyal to me and to what I want to get done, not to the laws, not to the country, not even to the party, just to him." So, if you, I'll leave the link into this because this is a long ass press conference where I want to see if I can get on. Excuse me. Let me get to the point. Let me see. Have you ever noticed how it's what I can do, what I can do, what I can do? It's a lot. Um, I think we'll end it there. I just wanted to make sure we checked in and you got a little bit of update about what's happening here with these tariffs, why this is affecting you, why this is important to the country, why you're seeing so many people up in arms. Um, we can expect we're not going to expect all of a sudden prices to drop down. Now that the Supreme Court did this, like there's an entire process to make sure those tariffs actually stop. And then if Trump uses another way to then try to goose up tariffs even higher to 15%, we can expect not prices not to drop, but probably to either stay where they are or increase. But here's just another edition of Hit Politics News, another news hit live. Make sure you stay tuned into and like and subscribe Hit Politics TV on YouTube and also wherever you get your podcasts. And with that, we're out. Peace.